Hey there, here with a quick development update on last chunk, this little Roblox RPG thing I'm making. So, last time I showed that I was starting to get the inventory system added, and now I've got it fully implemented. Let's hop in. As you can see, if I open the menu here and go to here, I've now got some inventory items shown. Took a lot of work to get this working properly, but it's all data driven, so the game can look at what items you've specified in replicated storage and then generate little lists. Everything with question marks are items that you haven't acquired yet. So there's like a set number, like each individual type of item in the game is going to be shown here in the inventory. And then it'll either show that you haven't found it yet, or if you have found it before, it'll tell you how much of that item you currently have. So it kind of doubles as both an inventory screen and as an item compendium, which is kind of nice. And it's just an easier way to do it instead of having to constantly grow and shrink the lists. So yeah, currently this is just, I've got various testing items in here. There's materials, consumables, key items. So not only have I got the inventory set up, I added a basic command to give myself items. Just enter the ID and how many of it I want. And I just gave myself two materials of ID 2. And there actually are 3 separate inventories. Materials, consumables, and key items are all 3 entirely separate lists in your save data. And you can specify more inventories technically. I mean, I tried to make it flexible so that if people use this as like a kit or something, they could change the names of these things or specify more. But as it currently stands, I'm not sure how well it is at making that customizable, but it's at least got some implementation there to allow you to customize this stuff. Consumables are currently set as the battle item type that you can use in battle, and that's like a config variable. You can just change which item type you want to use in battle. So yeah, I can use a command to give myself items, and I've also added consumable items in battle. So if I click this items tab here, it'll show me all the consumables that I currently have. And if I set this to materials or something, it would show me materials instead. But yeah, I just click this and it uses basic attack. And the way the consumables work is it's effectively just doing the same thing as these action buttons here. It just uses some battle action, except instead of consuming charge, which is now listed here, it consumes the item. And I've actually got if I use a more expensive battle action and then say used it again, you'll notice that the buttons actually dim if I don't have enough charge to use them. So I can't even click those buttons. And then in your inventory, it would just go away. Like the list here is dynamic. And I can actually use the give command in battle to give myself items too. Like if I just do and now you can see I've got another item. Just a nice handy little testing feature. So yeah, also I don't know, you might have seen it there, but item drops are a thing now too. So if I just defeat this enemy, I can get items at the end of battle, which is kind of nice. And it's all customizable in data. There's even the ability to make certain item drops require the enemy to have certain status when they get defeated. So currently the petrified status drops item A, material A, of I think 1 to 2 of it maybe. So you could set it so that you have to give an enemy a status condition and then defeat them while they still have that status, and that will give you special items and stuff. I also tested it with PvP and it does in fact work. So I mean, the consumable items part, obviously you don't get item drops from beating other players. So if I go to replicated storage and enemies first, you can see I've got the item drops specified excuse me, specified here. Each of these tells you the chance 1 to 100%, and then the maximum and minimum number of the item that gets dropped, as well as the value here linking to whatever the item is in replicated storage. Whoops, hold on. Items, materials, material 1. So yeah, and then here there's this optional object value that you can put in called required status, and this links to the specific status effect in replicated storage as well. And in these different item folders here, I've got separate folders for consumables, key items, materials. These have to match up with the names of these folders have to match up with the names specified in config for your item types. And of course, the UI itself is hard built for these specific 3 lists anyway. It's not like designed to allow you to add and remove lists like that. So I'm not really sure if I want to go through all the effort of having the UI, the inventory UI, automatically like add and remove columns for different item types. That seems like might be a bit much, but at the very least, I've tried to put some stuff in config here. But yeah, you can see materials, they just have an item ID and then the item name that gets displayed visually. You shouldn't have 2 items of the same ID because items are saved based on their ID. So say you had 2 items listed as item 5, whatever it picks up as item 5 first is going to be determined as item 5, and it'll save into your inventory as like material 5 basically, and then save however many of you that you have. So if you were to say switch the item IDs of 2 items, a player's inventory would actually swap their item counts for those 2 items, as well as the positions in the inventory as well. And if you have like a missing item ID, I have an error. I actually need to test that again because it was causing some problems in the past, but I think it should be fixed now. But the way it's supposed to work is if you have a missing ID, your inventory screen will display an error for that item, but it won't like break anything else. So ideally, you want each item ID from 1 onward to be filled up to your maximum ID, and to not change item IDs after the fact, because that could mess up with player data. And then the only difference here, key items are the same as materials, and then the only difference with consumables is they have this object value here called action on used, and it just links to a battle action here, just to specify what battle action is called when you use that consumable. I briefly thought about maybe having the consumables also be able to consume charge. Like, I wouldn't implement that in my game, but it would be an option. But I decided not to go with it because it would just overcomplicate things. It does mean that you could technically use consumables to call, like, as it currently is set, existing battle actions. So they're an alternative way to use battle actions that don't cost charge. Although, in my case, I'm probably just going to create specialized battle actions for the consumables, so I can also give them, like, custom battle messages and stuff. Anywho, I did some other back-end stuff. I always do that whenever I'm working on this, trying to make the code as like clean as possible. One thing I noticed was I was getting some erroneous print statements saying that I left a battle early even after I'd finished the battle, and it was because the leaving the game event that I'd connected to a little function to like register that you left the game during a battle wasn't getting disconnected, so it was still like registering that left game and thought that I was still in the battle for some reason. So I made sure to put in some disconnects there so I don't get those messages, because that could potentially result in problems in the future. Last thing, you might have seen I made a little tree here. I just had a bit of time to kill, so tried modeling something. I don't know where this tree is going to go or if I'm going to use it, but it looks kind of neat. So yeah, that's what the game is now. I think my next step will probably be to try to get the weapon mods system done. There's a lot to do there, like getting the weapon on the player's back and having it change appearance potentially, and getting the whole weapon mods UI set up. I have some ideas for how I could implement it, but it's definitely going to be another time-consuming challenge. But I think I can do it, especially if I got the inventory and item system working. Weapon mods should be about the same difficulty to implement. Anywho, I'll see y'all next time. Thanks for watching.